All right, everybody. Welcome back to the best hour of their day. Fern here, and I'm here with Wodify, Brendan Rice from Wodify. And if you don't know who Wodify is, you've probably been living under a rock for your entire existence in the CrossFit community. But I know you guys are busy. I know the team is not actually as large as everybody thinks it is at Wodify, so I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. It's good to be on.
And I wanted to bring Brendan on the show because I just wanted to talk through some things. So there's no short of people who complain about or have their opinions about what's the best or what's not so great with regard to gym software. But full disclosure, I use Wodify, have for just under 4.5 years. And I just thought it'd be cool to talk through the evolution of Wodify, like what they have coming in the future, and then hopefully get some questions answered for affiliate owners and maybe athletes. And then there may be some follow-on questions for this too. So like, I guess, quasi storytelling, quasi Q&A, I guess would be like a good way to kind of describe this one, I guess. So, but first and foremost, how long have you been working for the company?
Yeah, so I've been at Wodify for a little over 2 years now.
Okay.
We've been around for 7.5 years. And yeah.
Okay. And then, and what's your specific role within the company?
So I'm the chief marketing officer, mostly involved in marketing strategy, but like you said at the beginning, we're still a fairly small and scrappy team. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm in a marketing meeting, working with our sales guys, coordinating projects with our customer success, going down and doing in-person stuff. I was actually just got back from Wadapalooza this weekend, hanging out with some customers there. So a lot of different areas of the company.
I have yet to go to that event. Jason was down there, my business partner, and he's been down there as an athlete. He went on a team last year. I think it was a scale team. And then he went down there and was doing a bunch of different stuff. But everybody that I talked to says it's a pretty amazing event, top to bottom. So
Yeah, they do now Loud and Live has scooped up a couple of these sanctionals, and they definitely know what they're doing when it comes to event management. So it's a really pretty high level of just quality of professionalism and people at the event, and then obviously the vibes there, and that sanctional and that event's been around for a while, so people are into it, and it's cool to be there.
I forgot who I was talking to about this the other day. I didn't realize that event, I think, is 10 years old, is it not?
I think this was either their 9th or their 10th year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
It's almost as old as the CrossFit Games, just a couple years younger. But okay. So I think it's worth talking about, honestly. How did Wodify become a thing? What was the genesis of Wodify? Who was the person that thought it up? And they're like, I got a better idea,
Yeah, so it goes back to 2012 in a little gym called CrossFit Aspire in New Jersey. So our founder's name is Amit Shah, and at the time, his background in technology, at the time he was running a consulting company that helped implement enterprise technology at massive companies. And so he's got a very technical mind, and he comes from a technical background, and he started doing CrossFit. And back in 2012, and I'm not exactly sure about CrossFit Rife and what your guys' setup was, but most CrossFit gyms in 2012, you'd walk in, there'd be a workout written on the whiteboard. Maybe they'd hand you a notebook and say, hey, keep track of your workouts. And then the gym owner's probably going into like a WordPress website or something and typing in the workouts. And so he started doing CrossFit, and performance tracking in CrossFit, and the element of kind of competition and the whiteboard was such a big part of the culture. That he got into that and just saw this huge opportunity to bring technology and make that just a better experience for coaches and members and for the gym owner. So it started as a side project, to be honest, over like a holiday period, where the idea was very simple when it began. It was, let's take performance tracking and make it digital. There was kind of three elements. Let's put screens up in a gym where when a member comes in, they'll see the workout on a screen, and then they'll be able to track their results so that they can see their performance over time, and they don't have to like go dig back through a notebook. And then because we're keying that in digitally, we can automatically push it to like a WordPress website or whatever your website is. And so ultimately it's kind of like saving time and making that more efficient. But what we were really doing was creating like a retention tool. You were giving gym owners and coaches a way to engage with their members better and like demonstrate their results and performance over time. So that was kind of how it started, and then I can get into it, but from there we obviously grew it and took off a lot. But that was the start of just people who got into CrossFit and saw a problem.
That is like not necessarily like a unique story within CrossFit. So it's one of those things where I'm trying to think of CrossFit's this weird space. Do you still have good audio on me?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Sorry, hold on. Stop. Um, it's this unique situation where everything that's needed for the CrossFit space comes out of the CrossFit space, right? Like
Yeah,
everybody's just like, we don't have something that we need. I'm just going to build it, right? And I think Wodify is no different, right? There's so many things that have been, so you think Rogue, Wodify, I mean, how many apparel companies exist
yeah.
because of that? So I always think that's super, super cool. And just the ecosystem is pretty robust in nature when you think about it. And it's just cool to see that like there's a need there and people fill it because it's a very niche market of fitness, if you will. And it's cool to see that evolve over time. For those people that haven't seen it, it's hard to explain to people that like none of this crap existed 10 years ago. It was just like everybody was running their gym off a spreadsheet. There were some software companies out there, like we used to use MindBody Online, but it's not, I don't think it's conducive to a micro gym. It
Yeah.
was just like we had to get away from it. And then we looked around, and then the natural fit, when we were looking around, I was like, Wodify. I was like, oh, this is very narrow in nature. It is CrossFit centric, and it makes sense. I can do all the things that I want to in one place. So that's really, really cool.
And kind of going off of that, it helped us, like being so involved in the CrossFit community kind of informed our entire product roadmap and got us to where we are today. Because like I said, we started with that digital performance tracking, and everything else we've built since then has been based on feedback from gym owners and based on the CrossFit community. So they've really helped shape the entire evolution of Wodify.
What was the Because obviously you guys have added a lot of function. I don't even remember, like, what was the just basically the basic functions that Wodify started with? WOD tracking. Did you even do member management, like as far as payment processing at the beginning?
No, so we actually in the early days specifically said we are not going to do payment processing because there's just that just opens up such a can of worms. So you start with like performance tracking, digital performance tracking was where we started. And like the first few gyms, we'd go in, and again back then it was such a big culture and behavioral change that we would go into gyms and we would install the hardware. We'd hang screens up on their wall and we'd hang out there for like 3 days working with their coaches and really encouraging them to interact with their members to get the adoption, because the even though we felt so strongly it was a better solution and it improved retention, you're changing a behavior. It's something people are used to, and they're not used to seeing that in a gym. So we really had to take a hands-on approach, and we were at Mayhem and like NC Fit and a few of these other big gyms early on,
Mm-hmm.
and just went in and like spent a week there and helped them implement it. And then all we asked was, if you find value in it, if you like it, just tell other gym owners and tell your friends. And like we didn't sign contracts or anything. We were just like, hey, if you like it, tell people. And you can see like our company's growth in those areas, and as more and more people started using it. But it was performance tracking, and then obviously once you start doing that, you need like people to check into classes, and you need to tie workouts to certain schedules. So we got into scheduling, and people had profiles. So there was this element of users. I remember wait lists was a big one. We had one of our biggest customers was like, well, we have classes, but we need to be able to have a wait list for that class. And if you guys can't do that, we're gonna have to leave to one of the competitors, next week, literally next week. And this was a gym out in New Jersey. And so our development team stayed up for like 72 hours and built wait lists. um,
They're like,
and
done, got it.
and and like the part about Wodify as a technology company is we're completely bootstrapped. This is, we've never taken on outside funding, and so all of our growth has happened from revenue generated by customers. And that's, if you're not in the tech space or the
It's
software
pretty
space, like
rare.
that's pretty rare. And in our industry, we're the only gym management system that's taken that route. And it's let us make fairly long-term, product-focused, customer-centric decisions. And it forced us to be, so when that customer says, I need wait lists or I'll leave, we kind of have to do that, right?
Yeah.
It's the, part of the company. And then there was a tipping point where a lot of people were using, in the early days, were using us and MindBody. They were like, I
Mhm.
love this performance tracking. It's helping. My members love Wodify, but I need to bill people and I need to have this back end stuff. So I use MindBody and I can't pay these 2 subscriptions anymore. Like, you guys need to add more features. And so again, going back to listening to the needs of our customers, we said, all right, we said we were never going to do this, but let's get into payment processing.
Yeah.
kind of,
I honestly think, and I know there's people that use combinations of software
yeah,
and other things, but for me personally, this is just my personal thing. I have just always been against like having to use multiple platforms that are intertwined. Like, I don't care how smooth the integration is. Like, it's still 2 things that I don't want to do. And I've always felt like with that, for me personally, that's always been a huge kind of leg up for Wodify. That's it. Everything I need to do and want to do for the most part can be done in there. I mean, there are some limitations. I think once you get outside of the realm of your kind of group fitness classes, but again, I don't even know that that's weird because that's not what it was designed for. So, that's always been for me. It's just like, yeah, like they're like, you should move over to this one. I'm like, yeah, but what else do I have to use? And they're like, we got to use this too. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
yeah. Well, yeah, and you see that stuff start to, so it's not only the inconvenience of like, well, now I have 3 logins and each system is built a little differently, and so,
Hmm.
you get a little gets a little complex. But then you also, like, I'll talk to some gym owners who are like, oh yeah, I use this and this and this, and they're all 20 to 40 bucks a month. That definitely adds up pretty quick too. So,
Yeah.
we're never gonna do everything better than everyone else. Like, there are point solutions that might do automated marketing better than our automated triggers. But what we try to do is, for 80 to 90% of our customers or our owners, build the features that they need to run their business.
Yeah. And yeah, there are definitely tools that are better automated marketing, but again, that's member management software with regard to memberships and WOD tracking. That's not really what it's for, and
Yeah.
that's a different beast altogether. Now you're getting into the world of like legit CRM, which is a different ball of wax. Now you're talking about email campaigns and texting and all these other things, and I don't think most people have any idea like how robust that can be. Like, if you look at tools like Infusionsoft or what's the other big one?
Like,
I can't
active campaign's a pretty big one.
Active
But
Campaign, and
yeah.
there's another one I'm blanking on. Like, their logo is a cloud, but anyway, um, but yeah, that stuff is crazy big in scope, and it's just like most gyms who are like, let's just say a massively large gym, 500 members, probably still don't need that. Like, you could bootstrap most of those functions and not need a massive tool like that stuff to do it. Um, so going back to when you guys started, is there something that you guys got really, really wrong on the front end? You're
Oh
like,
man.
God, we blew it on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many kind of mistakes you learn from over the years. I think, well, I mean, one kind of funny one is we bought a grid league team. um, but
Well, I think a lot of people lost out on that
but
one.
we more like product specific. I think
Wait, go back to that. I didn't realize that. What grid league team did Wodify?
Philadelphia Founders.
Oh, okay. I had no idea. I didn't
We
know that.
have the mascot in our office still. Thunder
It's that
Guns.
it's that reminder of just bad ideas.
Literally, one of our values is be humble and grow from failure, and we have Thunder Guns standing in our office every day to remind us of.
I have the exact same thing of a picture of essentially what is a failed endeavor, and people are like, "Why do you keep that up?" And I'm like, "To remind me that it's okay to fail, and it's not. I'm not going to hide that. I'm not going to sweep it under the rug. It was a thing that happened, and it reminds me of like, hey, be smarter, be more thorough. Like, it's fine."
Yeah. Um, and I think overall one of the mistakes we made in hindsight was scaling some of our products so fast and not like laying the architecture or getting like thinking through all the different features that that's going to affect or interact with. So the examples, as we grew from 0 to a couple thousand customers, even the way we were, and for any of our customers listening, if they've been with us for 5+ years, they've kind of experienced this firsthand. But the way we were handling like all the performance data early on was kind of like, let's build these tables. We need people to see their past workouts. Next thing we know, like today we have 225 million performances that have been logged.
Good
And
God.
we just didn't like think early on about that kind of scale. And so the impact was kind of twofold. One is like actual like product issues, like stability or speed issues,
Got it.
which we ran into. And then the other one was just making sure all those features, like when we talk about how much we do, making sure they all work together. So like if you have memberships that you're creating, making sure all our communications and our emails tools are connected to those memberships and those triggers. So fortunately, like that's a growing pain a lot of companies go through. But I think
Hmm.
the lesson there is even early on, like think a few steps ahead, or think how might this impact a feature we build down the road, or how might this work when we have 10 times the customers we have right now. There's probably some lesson in there for gym owners too, like if they're looking at a new space, or if they're
Well, that's
thinking
where I
about
was going
class
with that
size,
is,
like
yeah. So if you were to try to scale that down to a gym owner, I mean, let's walk through it. Like, let's say I've got a gym I just started and I've got a gym of 50 people and my goal is to scale to 400. What would be one of those things based on like, at a smaller scale from what you guys experienced and it doesn't have to be like super, super in the weeds, but more like principle that a gym owner should consider with regard to increasing volume and what that all entails?
Yeah. So, I think one thought and again, like I've never owned or managed a gym, so this will be fairly high level. But one thought is just like back into some of the calculations you're making. Like if you're investing in equipment, or if you're investing in like a new floor plan or something, start at membership count, or maybe start at like class size you're looking for, and just back into what you need, versus like starting where you are today
Okay.
and saying, all right, well, we need a floor size of 20 people. And we actually just did this. So we just moved our office to Center City, Philly, and we literally just did this exercise where we had to like bench out our office for about 90 employees. Right now we're at 55, and so we're building to set us up for success in the next like year, 2 years, and not for where we are today. Um,
Okay.
and the other lesson is like address culture and team development sooner than when it becomes an issue. So if you're starting to say, oh, I need to think about my gym's culture, and I need to think about my coach development and career paths because you've had some of your best coaches quit, or because you've had like huge issues, that's too late. So like
Yeah.
so try to take care of those things sooner, or now than you think, because the people that are helping scale and grow your business are ultimately like your greatest asset. Again, like there's a parallel with Wodify. We learned
Yeah.
our lesson there, but I think that's really important.
That's it's a tough, because of the context with which most people in the CrossFit space and kind of like micro gyms in general start. This idea of starting with the end in mind, like totally makes sense, but can be very, very difficult to wrap your brain around, because to some extent, none of us ever get it right with like what the end actually needs to look like. So it's this weird labyrinth of kind
Yeah.
of creative process slash bad idea slash trial and error to eventually try to get there. And, admittedly, we just hit 10 years and I'm still kind of rearranging what the end looks like. But I am asking those questions now, like, okay, what in 5 years, what needs to be in place for me to thrive? But then one level past that, what needs to be in place for, you know, the 2 and 3 employees that I don't currently have yet to thrive, but I want to have so that they can have a career and we can have a thriving gym. So yeah, I think those questions are super important, even if you can't answer them at the time.
Yeah.
simply the act of asking the question and going through the process is important because it kind of keeps you grounded with like where you're going to go. I don't know if you can answer this question. How many gyms do you guys currently work with?
Yeah, I can answer it. We're in about 5,000 gyms.
So roughly 30% of the CrossFit community.
Yep.
That's a lot.
In 90 countries. So
Dang.
most of our customers are in the US, about 75%, and then Australia, we caught on with like our timing in the CrossFit market. We started, a couple years after CrossFit really started taking off.
Yep.
But in Australia, our timing was like right on. So
Okay.
we have something like 70% of CrossFit gyms in Australia on Wodify, some super high number like that,
Oh, wow.
which is fun. They're the best customers to support. They're always in such good moods.
Yeah. It's also pretty cool because from a standpoint of like people dropping in and being able to log in like at different platforms, if everybody out there's using the same system, I can log in, I can get that workout and can go into my workout log.
Yeah,
That's interesting. Okay.
exactly.
Um,
So yeah,
you're good.
we have a decent, chunk. And again, like you said, that's about 30% of the CrossFit market. Most of our gyms are CrossFit gyms, but especially in the past like 3 years, we're starting to see some growth out of CrossFit. But
Yeah.
90% of our gyms are CrossFit gyms right now.
Now, for an affiliate owner who is either not using any member management software right now, which that is a weird statement to make. I don't know why that would be the case, but or is like on the fence about Wodify. Like, what is it? What is it like? I mean, give your elevator pitch with regard to like Wodify. Like, why is Wodify a useful tool? Why should they do it? And the reason I ask is most people just look at whatever it is, like name any software company that offers service, value, blah blah blah. Um, a gym owner who's a startup just sees a dollar figure
Yeah.
attached to that. They're just like, that's just going to cost me money, bro. Like, I get it, but they just see dollars going out of their pocket, not necessarily ROI on that tool.
Yeah, I think I mean, the biggest thing that I talk about with gym owners is like, and business management software isn't sexy, right? Like you got into, like most gym owners got in this because they have a passion for fitness and helping people, and it's kind of this like shitty thing they have to deal with on the side.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
a necessary evil that you have to become competent at.
so the way I try to start to position is like we exist to try to help you achieve your goals as a business owner, whether that's scaling and opening a second and third location, whether that's just creating a profitable business and being able to spend more time with your members. Like I don't want to talk about Wodify's features. What we do is help you run a more efficient business, provide more value to your members, and save time so you can do the things that you want to do most. Again, whether that's coaching, spending time with your family, growing to a second or third location. And the way we do that is through giving you as close to an all-in-one solution as we can to run the entire back-end operations of your business and grow your membership base and retain your members. Performance tracking is where we got our start, and now we do like way more than that.
Yeah.
But performance tracking, especially for CrossFit gyms, like the element of just kind of like athlete experience and member attention that goes into that is huge. And then with everything else we do, again, it just goes back to like you can one of the things I try to illustrate is it's really hard to we have some competitors in our space or other solutions or even workarounds that are cheaper than Wodify. Like we're one of the premium more premium products, and on the surface it can be really hard to look at like the features that you need that you
Mm-hmm.
need and say, okay, well I know I just need that, let me invest in that, versus taking kind of advantage of all of the features and capabilities that we have because they're all designed for gym owners to grow their business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so really like investing, I see your software as an investment in the future and the growth of your gym. And I think, like you said, there's an ROI that you can tie to that, and really, using as many of our features to help grow and scale your gym as you can. Um, and then I guess more tangibly, like one of the things I just try to tell gym owners to keep an eye out for is like, think about the total cost of um, kind of the tech stack that you're using. So that's a hard dollar cost, and that's a time cost. So if you're saving money by using by maybe doing some stuff manually, well, at the very least be calculating how much time it's taking you to do that, or how much time you're paying someone to do that, so you can get a full estimate of
Yeah.
the value. Or like there are some systems out there that you might find that charge a lot less or even free, and charge, like, this is a big one that I see, that charge like high processing fees. And gym owners kind of don't think of it, because they're like, well, if it's money coming in, then I'll just pay you some percent. But like, those sometimes literally add up to more than our entire monthly cost, and the difference between our processing fees and other. So just keep an eye on, like, all of those different variables that go into the cost of your tech stack.
Yeah, and we don't, because you guys have it, but the merchant fees is one that a lot of people just like is a booger and that's for
Yeah.
any business, honestly.
Yeah,
But and
exactly.
there are some really cool things out there in the works that I think would be very valuable, that we're actually going to talk about on the show here in the coming weeks or months. But that'll be, I think, super unique. But anyway, there's some cool things that I've noticed that you guys have done recently, and this I kind of wrote this down on a piece of paper here because it's kind of, the idea was sparked from what we were talking about beforehand, which was when I was using MindBody Online, I was on the phone with customer service a lot. And while they were very, very good and they were friendly and they always resolved my problem, it was a weekly thing. And that alone goes back to what the point you're just making, which is that's time. Like, why do I have to do that? Like,
Yeah.
why do I need to be on the phone with these people once a week about some weird anomaly in the system, about that I need to then like train every person on my staff to not do that because that single weird button creates this waterfall of crap sandwiches that I'm going to have to deal with and like create. But when did you guys create this? Also is because if anybody's read the book by Michael McCall, it's called Clockwork. It's basically like, how do you replicate yourself and train uh, processes and procedures. And it basically is just like a video screen capture of everything that you do that's computer based. Like that's the book in like one sentence.
All right, cool. So I don't need to read it.
You don't need to read it. Yeah. But you guys created the training blueprint, which solves like this problem that some people don't even know they have yet, which is onboarding team members about how to use the system. Now I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so we launched that, and I was actually very involved in kind of the inception and creation of that project. We launched it last year, and the backstory here is, like you said, that we have an awesome support team, and any software company needs a support team because there will be issues and questions that come up. And when we're looking at, okay, well, we have support, what can we do to like really provide more value and level up our customers? And it was that development of resources that don't solve like an issue they're having, but help them feel really confident and like they're taking advantage of all of our software features. Like, we would
Yeah.
see customers that were paying us, a couple $100 a month, and we're using like maybe 5 to 10% of our features, and didn't even know that we had other features, or didn't feel confident enough going in there and setting them up. Or to your point, we're hiring new team members, and those people just hadn't been in the system very long. So we built Blueprint on an actual learning management system platform, so every user can log in using their Wodify credentials, track their progress, get certified, and it teaches them. The thing I like about it is it's different than like a help article, where Blueprint's set up to be like very user focused. So it teaches you kind of the why, like what are you trying to do, and then it explains the feature.
Well, that
So
that was so a lot of people used to go with we have an FAQ page, and I'm like, great, but that doesn't help me learn what I don't know.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
just a search function for like, I've messed something up at this point and I need to fix it. And it used to bug me to no end. People like, why don't you have you checked our FAQ page? And I'm like, yes, but unless I type in the exact keywords, I might not get what I'm looking for. And I also don't know what I'm
Yeah.
looking for because I don't understand the problem. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I've actually been going through it, admittedly, very, very slowly, but I've been going through it, and I'm actually going to make my team go through it.
Yeah, and I think there's just so much actual business value driven from people having a better understanding of the software that you're using for your business, especially when it's, if Wodify is touching every area of your business, for all of your managers, coaches, and for you to just feel really confident and really taking advantage of the features that make sense to you. Like I was talking, this was actually at Wadpalooza, I was talking to a customer who didn't even know we had the feature to have announcements. And now they're going to start using announcements, and like, maybe that's something that they use to promote like an upcoming event, and they get more people to show up. Like there's business value to understanding our software. It's not just like I want you to use more Wodify
Yeah.
features.
So if anybody doesn't know what announcements are, and if you're not using it, I will tell you personally, it's very useful. So if you're looking at the screens in Wodify, you typically have the WOD posted and then the coach board, which is check-in screens where everybody checks in. The announcement, and typically people would send an email out for this function. The problem is an email is a one and done. This is assuming people actually read their damn emails, which they don't. But announcements actually goes on the page where the WOD is posted. So if you're going to have gym closing hours that are different, or you're selling t-shirts and there's a closing date on that, or just some announcement, you can just schedule that announcement to be up there every single day until you want it to go away. So I'm going to send an email out, I'm going to write it on the whiteboard, and I'm going to put an announcement on Wodify. And if you haven't come to the realization that you do need to put it in all three of those places for people to get it, then you're blowing it. So I found it, and really, honestly, and I've only started using it maybe like in the past like 5 to 6 months, because there were some people that were just, again, dropping through the holes because they don't have social media, they never check their email, they don't read the whiteboard, but they do check in and look at that screen of what the WOD is every day, and it's in yellow font, so it sticks out when you do that. So I think it's a really useful tool, the announcements.
Yeah, and just that was kind of one small example, but I think that's what we're trying to do with Blueprint and with a lot of our customer education. We do webinars every couple of weeks now. Is level up gym owners so they can use our software better, because ultimately that's going to help them run a better business. And the selfish part for us is the number one reason by far we lose customers is their gym goes out of business. And
That's interesting.
we need to all try to help more CrossFit gyms and more micro gyms succeed. And I'll tell you the selfish business reason. We don't want to lose customers, but I think there's some
Yeah.
there's some kind of like shared goal there, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, they rely to some extent, they rely on you and you rely on them. And I think,
Yeah.
no, I think that value, I think, is really cool. And so on those webinars, for anybody who is interested, like, those are not just Wodify centric webinars. So you guys are bringing in outside experts, if you will. So I know you guys have had Chris Cooper on there talking about gym health. I think
Yep.
John Briggs was on there from Insight Tax. Both of them have been on the podcast, so go listen to those. But there are things that are valuable that have nothing to do with software, right? That are just like, hey, run a
Yep.
better business, run a better system / organization. And I think that's really, really useful. Do you guys have any cool ones coming up? Do you know that you know of yet?
We're doing a series with JP from Brick Fitness. He's going to be talking about he's actually doing 3 in a row, 3 weeks in a row. So he'll be doing a series essentially just on a few different topics like renewal, reactivation, I forget the third R, but he's got, experience growing a fitness franchise
Retention? Is
to
it retention?
that's I was about to say retention, but
Yeah.
I know it's not retention.
Oh, okay.
It's a different R.
Okay.
So that one's coming up. I'm going to be doing one with our director of video at Wodify and talking to gym owners about how they can, without paying an agency or freelancer, create really good video content to use on their website and their social media and in their paid advertising. I think video is such a powerful marketing tool, and sometimes a little bit intimidating, or you feel like you have to spend a bunch of money on it. You don't.
It's
So those are a
crazy.
couple that are coming up.
That's really cool. I'm going to look at that because that we kind of dove into that a little bit. So I had Tyson Oldroyd on the podcast. That podcast dropped a couple days ago. And so he was an affiliate owner, worked on the training department for a long time, and then was basically the lead producer for CrossFit HQ, and was produced for the Netflix and iTunes documentaries, Fittest on Earth, Froning, all that stuff. So he has an incredibly unique perspective on that whole circle from multiple lenses. And but we talked a lot about video and how easy it is to create your own video, but also utilization of content that is already out there. Right? You
Mhm.
don't have to create a lot of stuff,
Yep.
but if you want to, it doesn't have to be this overly produced product. Like it just needs to have like some core principles with regard to like how you shoot it. So that's cool. I'm looking forward to that. I'm probably going to learn something. You can always learn something with regard to that stuff.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, we're definitely trying to do, like you said, it's not just let's talk about Wodify features. It's let's bring on guests and use our platform as a way. Like Chris Cooper got, he did a guest webinar with us and 750 gym owners sign up, and it's a really cool way for us to just say, hey, we have a platform. Let's bring together people that can share
Yeah,
content that gym owners will find valuable.
I think that's great. And I think that is the sign, in my personal opinion, is a sign of a company that has good values with regard to like, hey, this shouldn't be completely self-serving, right? It's
Yeah.
not all about us. If we just bring value all the time, then it's a no-brainer to have this relationship, So I think that's cool. I think that's great. I want to talk a little bit about future tools, because that's always the question is like, when are you guys going to add this and that and all that other
Hmm.
stuff? So are there anything that you guys have that you're working on? And if you want to spin this into some of the kind of secondary or tertiary product offerings you have with like Pulse or Arena or any of that stuff, like we can go there too. I don't know if that falls in the same bucket or not, but
Yeah, well, I think it helps to talk about how we make these decisions, right? And so, rather, like, we can start in the past few years. What have we done, and how do we make these decisions? What we look at is a couple things. One is customer feedback. I talked about those stories from 2012 and 13. Obviously, we're at a different scale, but customer feedback is still the number one driver for new features and additions to our product. And the way we do that, because sometimes that's a little bit of a black box or just sounds nice,
yeah.
where you submit a support ticket and our team goes, thanks, like I've told our product team, and you kind of wonder what
You're
that
like,
actually means.
you're like, I
Um,
bet you did.
but so just to shed some light on it, because we literally do, we use a tool called Product Board that aggregates and organizes every single piece of customer feedback. And so if it's in a support ticket, in a phone call, in a post on social media, we're able to quickly capture that and add it to like a feature card so that we can keep track of how many people are asking for what features. Um,
So it's
and
based
then
on demand, essentially.
and this is one element. It's the biggest factor, but we do consider other kind of other considerations. But you can actually go to, this doesn't have all of them because there's like hundreds and hundreds. But if you go to ideas.wodify.com, that's our public facing ideas forum where you can see these cards and see the votes. And the cool thing is like see how many people vote for each, and you can see which ones we've launched very recently. So we just introduced that public facing part recently, but the tool has existed for us to aggregate and organize for. And so if that's kind of the number one thing is what are our customers asking for. The second thing is how can we save gym owners time and help them run more profitable businesses. And that's a big kind of lens we look through for every feature that we're developing. So again, we'll go back to some of the things we've done in the past few years, like Wodify Pulse we introduced, which is real-time heart rate tracking. We use MyZone as our partner. So MyZone makes hardware that's like by far the most accurate heart rate tracking. We partner with them to integrate it with our in-gym kiosk. And the reason we did that is we saw a shift in our market, especially when Orange Theory started blowing up,
Yep.
of and we heard from gym owners, like we are losing members because people want that real-time data, they want that gamification, they're asking for heart rate tracking. And so when we hear that, it checks not only the customer feedback box, help them run a more profitable business and help their business. If they're losing members, like we need to provide them a solution for that.
It will
um,
helps. It helps deal with competitors because whether you
exactly.
think Orange Theory is a crap training program or not, the point is like people are intrigued by it, and for those people who are like heart rate is bullshit, well, it depends. right?
Yeah.
So if you're telling, and we talk about this in the What is CrossFit lecture at the level 1, if the only metric you give somebody is heart rate, then yes, it is bullshit. It's just like if you tell me your body weight and you tell me nothing else about your
Yeah.
biometrics, then that is a useless metric to me. But it is one more thing that I can use to teach people how to train appropriately instead of using something like RPE, which is subjective in nature. I can use heart rate, and I can use that metric for something like, to make a real simple analogy, let's say your Fran time is, you did it let's say you did it in 3.5 minutes, and your peak heart rate was whatever 168. But I came back and I did it again in another 6 months, and I have two metrics now to pair with that, which is I have my time and basically my biological output with regard to that. Maybe I still got a 330, but my max heart rate was 140, and I'm like, you're fitter. It's less biological
Yeah.
output to get the exact same results. So you're fitter measurably, and that can help people understand that it's not always just about the load on the barbell or the time on the clock, that there's other things involved there, which is like, if I don't have to work as damn hard to get the exact same outcome, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it gives like another thing we're really invested in is giving your coaches the tools to be more effective, because that's such a huge differentiator in CrossFit. And when one of the important reasons your business, a lot of CrossFit gyms charge a premium compared to other types of fitness, and your coaches need to be able to provide effective, personalized coaching. And so Wodify Pulse and heart rate training is a great way to do that, because you can see someone's effort level and know whether to push them or encourage them to take a break, and it provides another level of personalized coaching. And you look at not to speak like poorly about them, but like Orange Theory or some of these other boot camps, their coaching style is so different than CrossFit. Their coaching is borderline like motivational speaking,
Yeah, I mean,
and
I think it's fair to say it's not coaching. They're not actually teaching me
yeah,
anything. The skills are low, or the movements are low skill, but and by nature, like I'm not hating on them either. There's people in there who are
yeah,
like getting fitter and all that stuff. But from a coaching standpoint, it doesn't require a ton of knowledge or expertise. And I'm not hating. That's just kind of a fact,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. The one other, this is just top of mind because it happened in a conversation at Wadpalooza, but I thought it was super interesting. I'm curious your opinion, and in general, just wanted to share it. Was I was having a conversation with two gym owners, and one mentioned they went to an Orange Theory recently, and she was like, I do these fitness field trips where I go and I see what they're doing, and I just kind of experience it, and then I come back, and there's usually one or two little ideas I get from going there that I implement in my gym. And the other gym owner was like, hardcore CrossFitter, like, no, that shit's stupid. Like, I don't. And I was like, whoa, like every gym owner, I feel like if I was a gym owner, I would want to go and see. Doesn't matter whether you believe in those different types of fitness or you think they're complete bullshit. The fact is, like you said, that people are intrigued. They're doing something right, and so going there, you might be like, well, that was a waste of an hour and $30, but they did this thing at their front desk that I love that might help me sell more retail. Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
something like that.
I agree with you, and I'm fully in your camp as well. Which is, I think where the big hang up gets is like people get caught up on the fitness aspect of it. I'm like, yeah, we can all agree that I'm not going to Orange Theory or My Ride, which is a cycle studio here in Virginia Beach, or Soul Cycle, or any of those other places to get fitter quantifiably, right? Like we can all.
Yeah.
That's not even a debate. You're going there to learn something about business, to learn something about customer experience. And the reality is, and this is probably, I don't have a problem saying this fact, they all do it better than CrossFit gyms. Like across
Yep.
the board, 100%. If I go into multiple Orange Theories, the experience is probably very, very, very similar, if not the exact same. And people have a good experience when they go there. And there's something to be learned there from CrossFit gyms. Like we can offer a better experience and then pair that with a better training modality, right? So it's just like, it's not like you can't just lay your hat or hang your hat on the like CrossFit's better. Yeah, no shit. Like that's not even it's not even a debate. But how is your business better? Because if you want to die
Yeah,
on that sword of this is better
exactly.
training, then by all means you can do that. But like you're not going to be around in 5 years. You might not even be around in 12 months. You have to start pairing all that stuff, and you have to start stealing those ideas and those little things about where the front desk is placed and what the person says when you walk in the door. Like all of those things start to matter because the consumer now has options and they don't know any better with regard to like which training modality is better. So you better be competitive in all of those areas.
Yeah, and I think yeah, it was just I even like the term fitness field trips. I was like
It's
I
great.
was like I like that term, and it'd be so interesting to see, every gym owner I think could glean some value from that. Um, and so then going back to just some of the other stuff we've done in the past year, and then I'll talk about looking forward. So I talked about customer feedback and helping them run a better business with Pulse. We added a few other products. One we've added, and obviously you're familiar with this, but in the last year was our what we're calling our WOD marketplace, which is the
Hmm.
ability for gym owners to get programming from expert programmers automatically imported to their Wodify account. And this was a combo of customer feedback, but also how can we save gym owners a lot of time and help them
Hmm.
run a better business. And so we launched it less than a year ago, and the idea is super simple, right? Like you
Yep.
go in and workouts are automatically imported to your Wodify account, and there's some sort of like coaching notes or plans so your coaches can see it. But the light kind of really went off for us when we started rolling it out, and I had two calls with customers. One called me, and she was literally on the verge of tears, saying, "I can spend my Sundays with my kids again," which was awesome. Like I'm not, like I said, we want to help you achieve your goals. If your goal isn't open for gyms, that's totally fine. Your goal might be just to live an awesome life, having a gym and being able to spend time with your family. And so getting the hours back in your day is super important. And then the other one was actually someone who was able to spend, 5 to 10 extra hours a week marketing and going out and making, trying to drive growth in their business.
Stuff that has
Um,
actual ROI, because the reality is like your programming has zero ROI. Like that's the reality. Like it's just with regard to like reaching new customers, right? It it,
yeah,
it has depending on how you do it, it has ROI with regard to how much time you're spending there. Because I was talking to two people who are very well known in the programming space yesterday. I was on two phone calls with both of them about just different stuff, and we all had the same discussion about if you're going to do that well, if you're going to program slash write lesson plans, realistically, if you're going to do it well, you're talking about 6 to 8 hours a week.
yeah, at
It's a
least.
lot of time, and I don't think people really understand what the time commitment is to do that. And that was kind of why we started doing it. And then when we reached out to you guys to have that to make it available, it's like, yeah, we do want to save gym owners some time, but then we want to double down on that and create development on top of that, and then save them additional time or outsource that or create a platform with which not only we're going to give you time back so you can do marketing and all those other things, but we'll help you develop the staff as well so that you can create a very consistent experience from class to class, which is another thing people don't think about, right? It's just like, hey, if your rock star is in the 5 p.m. coaching, I'm willing to bet that 5 p.m. attendance is the best one throughout the day.
Yep. And and that's been another big thing we've learned is like probably the most immediate need, and what maybe gets people first interested is like, all right, I want to save some time, and then they see those other benefits, and suddenly we talked about kind of culture and team development at the beginning, like your coaches feel a sense of investment in them when they're able to read a detailed coach brief or session plan or watch a video, whatever it is. um, it helps them be better coaches, and it's an element of professional development. It makes them feel like they're learning and growing from being at your gym and coaching.
Yep.
And that's going to help you grow and provide a better experience for your members. So yeah, that's been awesome in the past year so that we launched that, rolled it out. um, and
And if you guys haven't checked your email in the last 48 hours, check it, because the email about best
we
hour of the
did
day
we did send out
programming
an email about
went
best.
out. So yeah, go ahead. And the Wodify team will walk you through how all that works too. So go ahead and give them a shout.
Yeah, it's awesome the first time it happens because some people have been using Wodify for so many years and they've been programming WODs for so long. And the first time they log in and they just see workouts, and we can do it like on the call. Like we can push a button and they can refresh their screen and they're like, oh my god, how'd these workouts get in here?
Oh my God, there's so much time.
And and once they're in there, it's cool because it's the functionalities the exact same as if you had built it yourself. So if you don't have a piece of equipment, or if you want to delete a workout to do a special like partner workout that you had planned for that day or whatever it is, you can still do all that in your
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what, or just a few examples of what's been happening the past few years. And looking forward, those decision factors aren't changing. How can we listen to customer feedback, and how can we save gym owners time and help them grow their businesses? Um, one thing, just to give context to this, goes back to when I talked about us being bootstrapped, and I think it's important for people to understand this, because it actually is a big part of what makes us different in the market.
Hmm.
Every single one of our competitors has been acquired or been invested in with outside capital, which isn't. I'm not knocking that. That is a definite like path to take in your business. But what we've seen is that we can take a very long-term product-focused approach, meaning like we have the smallest sales and marketing team of anyone in our industry by far, and the biggest, or not the biggest, but proportionally like engineering and success teams, because we don't need immediate growth or immediate returns. And so what we're doing right now is really laying the foundation for a 5 to 10 year product vision and investing in like heavily in product, because that's what where we saw success early on. Like I said, we grew organically from day one, and how we see success in the future is like, how can we make a product that gym owners love? Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what's going to win. Like if more gym owners love Wodify, like eventually people will sign up or will switch over to us. More tangibly, stuff that's coming up in the next year or two. I think one thing I'm really excited about is we actually have a team right now working on. We've introduced some new insights and reports in the past year or two, but we have kind of a refocus on that. And the one of the reasons we've started it is more gym owners are asking for more data and more like customized data on their business. And I think it's tied to a bit of a rise in like gym mentoring and consulting businesses that are kind of demanding that they need these metrics and helping them
Yep.
grow their business. And so for us, the shift is going from like a bunch of pre-built kind of static reports and data into a much more flexible reporting system
Hmm.
where owners are able to kind of like build custom filtered reports and see exactly what they're trying to see in their business. So
Yeah.
today we have a report where you can look at like average revenue per member, but you can't segment out like coaches and admins, for example. Um,
Like how much revenue they're generating? Is that what you're referring to?
they're just like included in the denominator of that calculation
Oh, meaning
versus
it's
saying
offset
like,
because that person is not revenue generating.
yes,
Got
versus
it.
saying like, and that's kind of one example, but the idea behind it is building this new insights and reporting tool that lets you measure exactly what you're looking to in your business, and that will help gym owners make business decisions so they can run better businesses.
No, I agree, and that's something that when I was using MindBody Online back in the day was like there was a bunch of metrics that I would get in this dashboard, 90% of which were very useless to me. And then I'm just looking at some of the. I'm trying to think now. Have you guys because it went? You moved. It changed from dashboard to insights. Is dashboard still available? I'm trying to think of like
Right
looking at
now,
the
we have
screen.
dashboards, insights, and reports. The first thing we're replacing and kind of improving is insights, but
Okay.
ultimately, this new system that we're building will be used for all three, and it'll be kind of a common pattern, because even what you see in dashboards looks different than insights, and there's kind of different
Yeah.
settings and functionality.
Yep.
So what we're moving towards is a single reporting structure where you know exactly what you can tweak and filter and change and save. And then there's other small, well, not small, like, if you use us, you realize the impact of this, but functionality that will be included in that, like being able to automatically email certain reports to like members of your staff at certain intervals. So if you have like an all hands meeting every Sunday and you want to look at this report together, we could set up a trigger so it automatically emails to you. So there's some other things
I
that'll go hand in hand with that.
that's available now.
No, that's part of this new.
Oh,
That's
okay.
part
I
of
was
what's
like,
coming.
damn. I was like, all right, because that's stuff because I actually do that. And I've talked about this before in the podcast, but like I do that now, but that requires somebody to pull the reports, and then we try to do like a short meeting on, like again, like just trying to stay ahead of things. Like typically, our Wednesday meeting would look like um, cancellations in the past week, members without payment information or members without memberships, to try to look at, okay, how do we
Yeah,
continue to clean up this number so that the number of people that I've seen over the years that had the active member number that was wildly inaccurate
yeah,
is well above 60%. I mean, most people, I'm like, I know that number's not real based on you just told me what your revenue was, and that number right there and that one right there don't match up. So stuff like that, where you can get that stuff pushed to you, would be amazing. Or stuff like, trying to get lead metrics, which would be, and I'm sure you guys are working on this, but I don't know, but like looking at stuff that is trying to prevent cancellation. So if so and so hasn't been here in 4 days, boom, that comes up, and maybe even like sends me an email like, you need to call Brendan today because he hasn't been here. It's Friday.
Yep.
Or we know that if he hasn't come in by Thursday in that week, he's probably not coming in on Friday. So if he doesn't come in on Friday, he's not coming in on the weekend. And now we get to that point where, like, once you breach the 10 to 14 day mark, the likelihood of a cancellation is extremely high.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool positions we're in to continue to build features like that is we have more data than anyone in the CrossFit market, right? So even like CrossFit HQ has no idea how much revenue gyms are doing. We know how much revenue the majority
Yeah.
of the market, or a big part of the market, is doing. So seeing trends and seeing what works and what doesn't also gives us a leg up when we're designing these features. Like for CrossFit gyms, we're probably in the best position to design these features moving forward because we started in this industry, we've been in this industry for no long, and now we have the data to actually do it.
Yeah.
So we can see the actual impact of performance tracking on members, on member retention, and on everything like that.
Would you even say that member like performance tracking is the core function within Wodify? Like, I don't really see it to be that anymore. I mean, it might be from
No,
your.
not anymore. Like I think like I said, it was our only product and our only feature when we started. But today it's I mean, people use Wodify without Wodify Perform, which is that performance tracking. I mean, pretty much every CrossFit gym obviously uses
Yeah.
it, but there's so much that our product does now. It's definitely just one piece of the puzzle.
Uh, I don't know if you know off the top of the head, what is the number one thing people request currently,
Number
or
one thing,
one of the top ones?
yeah. I mean, honestly, it's there's a couple, but they're all related to just more flexible custom business processes. So one is like hybrid memberships is a pretty high one,
Got it.
between like appointments and sessions for classes.
Got it.
That's definitely a big one. And then reporting. There's like a number of top requested features and reports that are all, I'd kind of group them into what I talked about in terms of
Yeah.
building this new system and new structure.
I know for a while, a hot button topic was like the personal training function. Is that something people are still, or have people just kind of like found other solutions for that and don't care about it as much anymore?
Well, the ability to do one-on-one appointments was definitely a big one that our newest appointments module we released last year, which is way better than anything we had before that.
Yeah.
And so now people are able to run their, whether it's personal training or nutrition coaching, or they can even use it for like intro appointments for people. So our
Okay.
appointments functionality has gotten a lot better. The ability to kind of track and provide feedback as a personal trainer, we haven't really built out that functionality compared to some other people in the space, primarily because it's not what the majority of our customers are kind of demanding and asking for. We're focusing
Got
on
it.
like helping the primary business model we're serving is group classes in a physical location with appointments and with one-on-one memberships, but not like
Hmm.
pure personal training businesses.
Yeah, that's just something like, so we use third-party scheduling because I do like book this podcast through that. So
Yeah.
I wasn't curious if you could build that out where it would sync with my personal calendar, and I would again reduce a third
Yeah.
or a secondary scheduling platform that would allow me to manage both my personal calendar, that would also have all the classes that I have on there, would tell me when I'm doing a podcast, to tell me when I'm doing an intro, or somebody's coming in to just do um, a tour of the gym or something like that. But like, that's always something that I looked at and I'm like, man, if I could have one calendar that I could just look
Yeah.
at, like, that would make my life so easy. So, but
Yeah. I mean, that's a big one. Like, and this is how I typically approach it is, we've with appointments, we've released a ton of functionality that'll probably work for 80 to 90% of gym owners to do
Yeah.
everything they need to do. So what I encourage people to do is like start with that, because you're already using our system, you know our system, and when or if you run into a limitation, then look outside versus going and signing up for an extra piece of software. So
Yeah.
a lot of people might use, I don't know what we use, Calendly or Acuity or one of those,
I use
um,
Acuity. Yeah.
which is totally fine. But at least start with what we have built in and see if it can solve your problem
Hmm.
before going out and dropping, even if it's just 20, 30, 40 bucks a month, because
Yeah, but
there's
that's one
benefit to having that
expense.
in it.
You know, if you're
Yeah,
talking,
exactly.
but if you guys are talking about making gyms profitable, like how many other places are you spending 20, 30 bucks? And the answer is it's generally a lot. If you like
Yeah,
crack the hood on any one of those gyms that's kind of like on the bubble, the reality is like typically the first thing you want to try to do is get a back. And I talked about this with John Briggs, is like most of the time you can find something between 7 and 10% in revenue by just taking it back and not spending
yeah,
it anymore. So I think the top membership in Acuity is $50, but I recently just downgraded it to 25 because I'm not using it for as many things anymore. But if I could get rid of that and it's one less calendar I have to manage, then I'll happily do that. And if I could do everything through Wodify, then why not? Like again,
yeah.
one calendar that's linked to Gmail that's got my personal stuff in it too. That would be ideal for most gym owners, you know. So I think it's all about again consolidation so that you can maximize your bandwidth to do other things, whether it's if you want to build a new program in your gym or you want to do that content creation and you would like to spend the majority of your time in front of a camera, then you can do that rather than trying to manage two calendars and they don't sync and then you miss an appointment and that's a sale that you didn't get.
Yep, exactly.
So anything else kind of
Well,
that like people should be excited about in the future?
I think another one, and it's was hand in hand with what we were just talking about, was when we do when there are third-party softwares that gym owners are using. In the past, what we've done is one of two things. With a very small number, we've built direct integrations, and then with a lot of the rest, we've just kind of said, hey, like if you're using that, good luck. Maybe you can set up a Zapier. We have some Zap triggers.
Oh
Um,
God.
but but what we're doing now, and this is born out of, like, in the past year there have been, a lot of additional kind of products gym owners are laying on, saying, okay, like we want to be as close to an all-in-one as we can for you, but everyone's going to be using, potentially some other tools, and like
Yeah.
ultimately some of these companies, if like are going to be able to have features and functionalities that we don't have, because that's their core business, that's everything they do.
Yeah. I mean, like
And
that's
so
Zapier is like, if you were to describe what Zapier, if nobody knows what it is virtual duct tape.
yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what it is. I just take all these things and I duct tape them together via these zaps, right? But again, that's one more thing that a gym owner has to now learn, right? I
Yeah,
want to spend all my time, and then this zap for whatever reason breaks and it doesn't work and it doesn't push the information over, and I could maybe go 3 or 4 days not like, and I'm just like, why aren't any of these appointments being booked? Because like this weird zap change, and
yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, how many people have come through this funnel and didn't get to where they needed to? So yeah,
Yeah,
I
and,
get
and
it.
so what we're working on this year is like foundational building of public, or not completely public facing, but for other companies, public facing APIs and documentation, so they're able to build on top of Wodify in a way that is much more integrated than it is in the past. So you don't really have to learn two systems as much as you would have in the past. You're
Yeah.
able to actually just access that or have it work with Wodify. And like in November, we kind of did a pilot of this with our QuickBooks Online integration, which
Okay.
is the first example of like within Wodify. If you're using Wodify payments in Wodify, you can click Connect QuickBooks Online, and without leaving Wodify, a window pops up that you enter your login info, and then it will automatically map your payouts and your chart of accounts and everything into QuickBooks. And so a lot of gym owners might use an accountant, like a third-party accountant, and now they've essentially, like, they still pay for QuickBooks, but they don't really have to leave Wodify. Like it all just talks automatically. So those are the kind of integrations and the kind of work we're doing to integrate with other partners. Is how can we make it as easy as possible for users who still want some of that functionality, or maybe like QuickBooks, it's, we're never going to be a full end-to-end accounting system.
Yeah.
Still need to use those tools. How can we at least make it as frictionless as possible for them within Wodify?
Well, on that note, like let's say you do use a third party accountant, which quite frankly I'm a fan of. Like whether you use QuickBooks or not,
Yeah.
we work with. I've been working with John Briggs and Insight Tax for 3 years. Like we were, and I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
However, if I can make their life easier, again, all I'm doing is talking about like better reporting, more accurate numbers, less questions
Yeah.
about what is this transaction, how does it get classified, like all those things. Like you can eliminate those 1 to 2 interactions a month. Again, peace of mind, more bandwidth, all of those things.
And
So
some money back. Yeah. If you're,
and probably some money back depending on if they're billing hourly,
yeah.
if they have a flat rate. Like I mean, it depends. But like if you got somebody who's giving you those reports monthly and you look at that and it's accurate when it comes through, maybe you don't have to pay for that anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about two other things, and then I know you got places to be, but Wodify websites, and then but before that, I just want to put that out so we don't forget. Talk to me a little bit more about Wodify payments, right? So there's so you have Wodify, but then typically people have like a merchant processor on the back end of that basically creates that transaction
Yeah.
between Wodify and the credit card processor.
Yep. So Wodify payments we launched in the U.S. maybe 2.5 years ago. And we don't need to dive into the whole world of merchant processing, but essentially, like you said, it's you either have a third-party payment processor that you have an account with, and we work with them to process your payments, or with Wodify payments, it's something that we've built into our platform. The technology is powered by Stripe, so Stripe's one of the leading
Yep.
payment processors, so it's powered by Stripe, but you never actually have like a Stripe login or a Stripe account you have to worry about. It's all baked into Wodify. So for people on Wodify payments, there's a couple benefits, but the first is that because it's integrated with Wodify, like you have a tab in Wodify called payouts, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see line by line every deposit that's going to hit your bank account, all the fees that were deducted for processing, and just the visibility into your actual financials is usually like much improved, because a lot of you're working with a third party processor. It literally might be like you get a report you don't really know how to read, it looks crazy, and you have this like almost uncertainty of how much actual revenue you're going to get and is going to hit your bank account.
That's
um,
it. And so, if anybody who's not really sure, like what he's talking about, so let's say let's make it real practical. Let's say you have your membership is $150. You don't get $150.
you don't.
Like you don't get $150. I don't know if you know that, and I'm sorry if I just like ruined your day, but you don't get $150. Depending on what merchant processor you use, depending on what credit card they may have used, or maybe not, maybe it was ACH, that's going to vary the actual take home. So these people who are trying to maximize revenue need to take a look at that, and like maybe you need to raise your prices because and this is something you have to pair with average client value, because average client value is predicated on the actual transaction, right? That
Yep.
$150. But to some degree, that's inaccurate because it's not factoring in the whatever it is, 3% merchant fee charge, and then maybe a bank fee or whatever that is. So it's not 100% accurate realistically, right? And but now
Yeah.
depending on what you're getting, you might be able to figure that out. It's like to a very, very, very accurate number. Be like, hey, so that it matches your P&L at the end of the year when the accountant says this is the number, and you're like, well, that seems about 4% off. And you're like, yeah, if you factor all that stuff in, it's about 4%.
Exactly. And so the first thing was giving more visibility and clarity into actual financial transactions. That was the first thing we did, and the reason we baked it into the product. And the second thing was, how can we simplify the world of like payment processing fees? And so with Wodify payments, there's a flat fee for every single transaction, and a different one for bank accounts. But that is independent of the type of credit card they use, and there's no monthly or annual fees on top of that. And so going
Oh,
back to
got it.
like, some people might not realize this is like there are like there will be payment processing that you find outside of Wodify payments that has like lower transaction fees on the surface. We've seen people who think about switching to Wodify payments and will like send us statements, and we'll actually like look at them together. We're pretty objective because like we don't force people to use Wodify payments, so people have choices.
Yeah.
But we'll say like, yeah, you know, maybe Wodify payments rate's 2.6%. Right now you're getting 2.4%, but you're actually, you know, not, because if someone uses a MasterCard, you're paying 5%, and you're forgetting this like $90 PCI compliance fee or this other.
Yep.
So there's so many variable costs sometimes, and we try to just, again, it's we just want to help gym owners kind of have a little more stability or clarity in understanding how that works. And so we've seen this kind of flat rate be a little bit of peace of mind and consistency in kind of their revenue projections.
Yeah.
We actually built a tool, just wodify.com/calculator, where you can put in, you can like take whatever you're using today and input the revenue you're doing, the processing fees you're paying, like all of it together, and choose the Wodify payments rates, and we'll just tell you if you would be making or saving money.
Huh. I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah, I would have people check that out.
So it's
Wodify.com.
wodify.com/calculator.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, go check that out if you haven't. It's just, again, learning its knowledge. Last thing, websites, because this is another one talking about consolidating, integrating, all this stuff. Right.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about websites, I feel like a lot of gym owners, it goes back to this thing of like what might be a headache or seem like a distraction, but is so important to your business. And so like when I first started at Wodify, I remember checking out some of our customers' websites or just kind of looking in the industry, and I was surprised at how many. I was just like, wait, how would I actually become a member of this gym? Like how do like what's
how do I give this person money?
Yeah, like if I wanted to, like pretty much unless someone's like bringing a friend in and being like they're going to join this gym, people start by researching options out there. And if they look at 5 gyms and the third one they go to is yours, but they can't figure out how to submit a form, or they can't figure out, there's no like clear call to action, they're going to probably join one of the other ones that they searched at, because a lot of the competitors to CrossFit, you know, have entire teams or organizations that have already provided them with a website that is just designed to do exactly that. So we see websites. So, but the other thing is like how you don't want to learn a whole system and build your own website. So when we launched Wodify Sites, the idea was, how can we provide gym owners with a lead converting, kind of like business focused website, a website that is going to get them more members and not keep them up at night. It's like, how can they just have this that they feel like they can make edits to and changes to, and they can improve, so they're not a little bit in the dark, or like, well, I don't know, I pay someone and kind of fix it, but they can kind of set it and forget it. They don't need to go in every week if they don't want to, and it'll actually drive new business for them.
So I have a question on the website, just for anybody who is quasi familiar with websites. How, 2 questions actually, how user friendly is it? And then how much do I have the ability to not necessarily do build outs, but like change it? Like, can I add pixels? Like if like I'm running Facebook ads, like can I do some of that stuff myself, or maybe not yet?
No, so my favorite, it's actually pretty cool. Like my favorite thing about websites product is it's built within the framework of WordPress, but customized for gym owners. So for any gym owner that used Squarespace or WordPress or one of those other website CMS, you log in and they're fairly user friendly, but they're built for anyone to create any type of website. So they're user friendly to a degree, but you still need to spend a lot of time learning those systems and tweaking them. And then the other option is you pay a freelancer or an agency, and they charge you a lot of money, and you have no idea how your website's actually built. And if you want to change one word or an image, you have to like wait a few weeks or like pay them to do that. And so we're kind of
for a lot of them, for people who don't know, a lot of them, you don't have full access to your own website. So a lot of them are built basically what they call their break proof. Like they don't give you the ability to go in and break the website, which on their end is kind of smart, because most of us are not website design people, so you would go in there and break it. However, as you get a little bit smarter, there are things that like you may not want to go to the design person for. Be like, I know how to do that. Like I want to build this landing page real quick. I want to slap this pixel on it so that I can track through my ads manager, so that this goes through there and I can track like what is the actual cost per conversion on this athlete. Or I want to add a new coach video in there because I want to put like people in there so that people can look at that, or add a video that's like all that stuff. So I was just curious about that. because we
Yeah,
don't
so
use it. Just full disclosure, everybody, we don't use Wodify websites because we've had one, and changing it is always a pain
I
in the
won't hold
ass.
it
But
against you.
well, yeah,
But
but I mean, like, I'm not opposed to changing it, or anybody who might be on the fence about it. Again, like, simpler is generally better because of the narrow function of a CrossFit gym. Like, you need very specific things with regard to like what you're going to do, and the easier you can make it, and the more integrated and seamless you can make it, the better off you're going to be.
and we yeah, so we're kind of in between those two extremes, the full DIY and the agency or freelancer route, where you can log in and it's way easier and simple to use. So you can build out a landing page, you can add or change images, and you can adjust copy completely on your own, and we give you the training to do that. But it's also fully supported, so like you can send in a ticket or get support, so you're not on your own. The results we've seen are pretty awesome. Like we one of our early websites customers, gym called CrossFit Bowling Green, and I called them 2 months after they launched just because they were one of our first customers, and I was like, hey, how's everything working? Can I get like maybe a testimonial quote or something? And he had prepared like the actual stats, because he was like, I just want to tell you, I'm looking at the numbers right now. He goes, we've had an increase of 2.5 times the number of leads we were getting. And I'm
Holy
actually,
shit!
and he goes, and 84% of those leads are actually converting. I think considered converting to be like into a
An
on-ramp program
appointment
they
or
had.
something. Oh,
Yeah,
actual like
yeah.
giving money. Got it.
And so, and he goes, this is my favorite part. Like Wodify sites, if you're doing it yourself right now, it's going to be an increase in expense. Like WordPress and Squarespace cost very little.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're using almost any other website provider, you're going to save money. This person saved 70%. They were paying like $400 or $500 a month for website. And
Wow.
Wodify sites is $119 a month with right now $0 setup fee. Um, so
I'm
the
going to be
the
straight up with you. That is, excuse my French, that's fucking cheap.
Yeah, and so we're able to do it because it's not our core business revenue driver. It's we make most of our money from Wodify Core, and so
Yeah.
we're able to provide it as an add-on without it being our core business, because we know, going back kind of this recurring theme, we know it's going to help gyms be more successful, and from a product standpoint, when we build out Wodify sites, we make sure we don't force people to use whatever they don't want to, but if you want to use our lead form, if you want to use our appointments, if you want to use some of our web integrations, we can set all that up for you. So, and then we know people are using our platform better with their website better. They're going to be customers for longer, and they're going to stay in business for longer. So, yeah,
Dang.
that's the pitch
Okay.
on Wodify sites.
There you go. All right. Go look it up. Um, this has been a lot, man. Anything else that we didn't? I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I think like I really appreciate you giving us a chance to share some of our story. I think for any customers listening, because I'm sure there are a couple out there, you mentioned Wodify Blueprint. Like,
Mhm.
I just encourage you. I know gym management and getting into your back end system is not as interesting or as fun as coaching and talking to your members and doing everything else, but it will help you run a better business. Like, I encourage you to set some time aside to invest in learning Wodify, whether it's Blueprint, webinars, or like if you go to oneonone.wodify.com, some people don't realize that you can just book a 15-minute appointment to do a training with some of our support people. So like take advantage of all that. And then if you're not a customer, feel obviously we talked a little bit about our product and everything. But our sales team talks to gym owners all day, every day. Like if you book a demo call with us, I promise you, it's not a like, all right, are you ready to sign up for Wodify? It's like, let's learn about your gym. If
Yeah.
Wodify is not a great solution for you, then we'll tell you that. But so many people don't even want to think about it because they think the time and energy of switching their software, because it's such a big thing, will be this huge headache. And like realistically, we have a team of onboarders who are experts in all of our competitors. They'll ask you for your login. We'll go in there and we'll do it all for you. So don't
Well,
be
there you
don't
go.
be don't be intimidated by it. Get in touch with us. We'd love to meet you and learn about your gym.
That's cool.
Um,
I like it a lot. Awesome. Well, listen, man, I appreciate your time. If you guys have any questions for the Wodify team, just hit us up, DM us, or just call them, and they'll book an appointment and answer all these questions for you in way more depth than what Brendan and
yeah.
I discussed today. But I think we covered a lot of stuff, man. So I'm looking forward to some of the new releases and work with you guys in the future. And dude, thanks. This is great.
Yeah. Thanks for being a user for so long, and thanks for having us on your podcast.
Absolutely. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Come on, who doesn't have Spotify at this point? And if you were unaware, Spotify now is offering podcasts. That's right. On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite artists, but also podcasts in one place for free. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now, Best Hour of Their Day. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can even download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, something I always do before I hop on a plane. And you can even easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram and other social media platforms. Here's the deal. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Best Hour of Their Day on Spotify, or browse some other podcasts if you want. You can find them in your library tab. And also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of Best Hour of Their Day. Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day, and thanks again to our special guest. We appreciate all you guys do for us with Best Hour of Their Day when it comes to sharing our posts on Instagram, when it comes to subscribing to us on YouTube, when it comes to the constant feedback. We are grateful and we appreciate it. We are trying to build a community based on coaching development and becoming the best version of yourself. And it goes without saying that we couldn't do without all of you. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Season 1 of Dropping In is out. We are getting tremendous feedback and we'd love for you to check it out. Leave us a comment on there. Head over to our Instagram. Give us a follow. Like our pictures. Feel free to share anything that resonates with you. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback for us, please don't hesitate. Email us, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com. Thanks again. Until the next episode, we hope you've had the best hour of your day.